It's 6:30, just want to be mindful of everybody's time. I just want to say welcome. My name is Dan Bauer, I'm the superintendent of Danvers Public Schools. Welcome to our annual safety presentation. Tonight, we will hear from Chief Lovell and his team to discuss our district protocols in terms of secure schools. And at the very end, there will be time for questions that you may have throughout the presentation. Our administrative team is seated back there, our principals of all of our schools that can address any specific questions possibly. You may not want to ask that in a group. They'll be available if you have individual questions. We are taping this tonight as well for future sharing with the community that's not able to make it. And we look forward to a wonderful presentation. So anyway, I just want to start off by stating that we're very appreciative of our relationship with the Danvers Police Department. Chief Lovell and his team are outstanding in terms of their support for our schools. This is my second year as superintendent, and I've enjoyed working with him and his team whenever anything pops up that needs attention. No item is too small, no time of day is too late or too early. He's always available, which is reassuring, and I think that's really important to note. His staff, his officers, they're really working hard to build relationships within our schools, so it's not uncommon to see them at dismissal or arrival, walking in the buildings. We want to develop that relationship with our police officers and our students and our staff because they're an important part of the community. So we appreciate that piece too. With the resource officers in each of our schools, the high school and middle school, but also that serves our elementary, they're excellent. They do a great job with communicating, keep us in the loop if there's anything that is occurring, but also there to provide any support we may need. So they're outstanding. And I do want to recognize the Danvers Fire Department. Chief Barry and his team are not able to make it tonight. They have Citizens Academy, where I guess, I don't know if they can do any drills tonight with the rain. But Chief Barry, this is his first year as chief, but before as the deputy chief, did a lot of interaction with the schools in terms of school safety, the training that takes place in the elementaries, but also with their safety drills, an important part of the safety team. So I just want to recognize Chief Barry and his team. School safety is our top priority. So no matter where we talk about goals, school safety has to be number one because that is not just for the safety of our students and security of our students and staff, but other things do not occur if we do not have safety within our schools, without a doubt. As a parent, as an administrator, and somebody that has been in different capacities, I understand all aspects of that, how important it is for parents and guardians to trust when they send their child to our school that we're doing the very best that we can to protect the most precious asset they have, their child, but also our staff that works really hard day in and day out. So the other part too is, this week, as we started school, our police and fire, we've met with all the administrators, we've traveled to all the buildings, just as a way to kick off, touch base, any specific items in their buildings, just in general check-ins, and it's been great. It's been a great opportunity to communicate and connect, and I just sit there really and listen to Chief and his team, both Chief Barry and Chief Lovell, talk with our administrators, and I think that's important. We have a district safety committee that we started last year that meets on a regular basis. Last year was monthly, this year we're moving to bi-monthly, and that group is comprised of our administrators, police, fire, DPW, technology. Jim Sullivan, our technology director, is here tonight. Serves a lot of roles for us, as well as we have our union, our teacher representatives, our instructional assistants, as well as our school committee. So it's a large group that we started meeting last year to talk about items that are important with school safety, communication, and I think last year was productive, and our first meeting is next Monday, and that kicks off the meetings with that. But one thing though that I want to talk about that's coming soon, and it was actually part of the work that was done last year, in my first year, is just recognizing areas that we can address with school safety and just school in general. We're developing and have developed a district threat assessment team. And that team is comprised of 2 administrators, 2 social workers, school psychologists, director of technology, a resource officer, who are all have been trained in areas of threat assessment. There's a model out there, I believe it's modeled after University of Virginia, and we've created a whole set of protocols, which it's important to have a team like that where anything that may come into a school, and you may have seen in my updates, see something, say something. The smallest thing that comes in, the team may be called in to go through to basically determine, if there is a threat. And most times there's not, but having that safety where the police, they're right there with the rest of the team provides, I think, another level of safety within our schools, and going through and sifting out and determining if it is indeed a threat, what action we need to take. Most time it's not, but what action do we need to take on that end to support the student and staff? So that's a great addition. Stay tuned, more information will be coming out as we're getting close to vetting that out, discuss more at school committee on October 7th. We're also working on ways to improve communication. That's been an ongoing process in terms of notifications, and God forbid there is an emergency that takes place. So we're working on that. We're getting close to finalizing that product. But school safety is something that always evolves. We have our plans, we have our protocols, but we meet consistently to look and review the areas that may need improvement, and it is an ongoing process. So I just want to say thank you to our administrative team, to police, fire, Jim Sullivan, who's a big part of, on both ends for us, taking care of a lot of things, but school safety is really important. So October is School Safety Month, where we'll highlight the safety drills will begin in our schools, although the high school, I think Monday, will be theirs. Fire drills have already taken place, but more will take place. Education in terms of fire safety with the elementaries, the DARE program with the elementary will be taking place in the 5th grade. So it's a comprehensive program throughout the month of October, and I'll feature that tomorrow in my update as well. So without further ado, I think I've said way too much, but I'm glad that you're here tonight. As I said, we'll have the presentation with Chief Lovell, and actually Sergeant Colello will do the presenting tonight, I believe. Yes, he will. To talk more about the specific protocols, and there'll be time at the end for any questions. If tonight, often happens to me, if you have a further question, you're thinking about driving home, or when you wake up tomorrow that you would have liked to have asked, feel free to reach out to myself or any of our administrators at any time. It's a question I or we can answer. We absolutely will. If you need contact with the resource officer for further detail, we'll provide any answer that you ask for. So anyway, without further ado, I'd like to turn this over to Chief Lovell and take it from there. Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Dan. Dan's leadership's been excellent over the past year, and moving forward, we're very lucky to have Dan in our school system. We work very closely together, often talking 2, 3, 4, 12 times a week, all times of day and night, but it's always a very productive conversation. Tonight we have Sergeant Colella here. He'll be reading the presentation. Also is School Resource Officer Jeff Smith. He's assigned to the high school currently. We also have 2 additional school resource officers, Officer Skeen, who's assigned to this building, Holt Ridge Middle School, and Officer Michael Chase, who's assigned to Essex Tech. Again, thanks for coming tonight. This is probably our largest group we've had in 3 years, so thank you for coming out on a rainy night, and hope you find information helpful.
Thank you, Chief. One thing that I'm very appreciative is the relationship that we're able to forge, not only with the police department, but the administration of the schools. Not every community is lucky as ours to have those relationships. And our role as school resource officers is to develop those relationships with your children. And a lot of things in policing you're forced to do, and these roles aren't forced. We have to volunteer to be school resource officers. So we're here because we want to be and because we're passionate about it. We put this program together a number of years ago. It's been updated. We saw that there was a need due to the world that we live in, that hiding under a desk and praying to God that the person that doesn't enter the classroom and just open fire on you doesn't work. So along with collaborative effort of many different people, we put together an enhanced lockdown program, which I'll go over with you today. This was our goal, was to ensure in the event of school violence or an intruder incident, that students and teachers would have all the tools to react to the situation according to the information they have available at the time. A lot of things with education you kind of want to have control over, but with a situation like this, we empower the teachers to make their own decisions, and actually, as the kids get older, empower them to make their own decisions, which I'll go over with you in a moment. But we're lucky to have that, so it's not just a one-size-fits-all when it comes to responding to these tragic events. This is why we do it. The shooting in Columbine occurred in 1999, and since then, more than 338,000 students in the United States have experienced gun violence in school. That's just a staggering number. There were 46 school shootings in the year of 2022. I don't have the 2023 statistics yet, so this was the most recent that I had. But that comes right from the Secret Service. These numbers aren't made up just for effect. That's why we had to do it. As I had mentioned, it provides options and plans of action to increase the chance of survivability. And in these type of events, I know it's kind of hard to imagine, but that's the goal, is to increase the survivability. And hopefully, with these techniques, we will achieve that. Some of the principles they were outlined upon the MASC Task Force on School Safety and Security, FEMA, Homeland Security, and the ALICE Training Institute, which is a slide on ALICE, and we'll kind of go over why we don't call it ALICE. It's very, very similar to that. We'll go over that in a second. And we want to enhance our natural responses: fight, flight, evacuate, lockdown, freeze. And we're hoping, since we've been doing this for a number of years, that the impact and the anxiety levels on the students has diminished. As they've aged, it should just be another drill, just like a fire drill. It's something that we do a couple times a year, and it should just kind of be something that is almost a routine, unfortunately, in their lives. And again, it's to utilize your natural responses to increase that survivability. These are the principles of ALICE. So ALICE, the reason why we call it enhanced lockdown, our principles are very, very similar to this, but alert is the first, and then lockdown is second. And we feel that with the information that is developed, if you can evacuate, that should be your first response. And it's just more of a linear flow opposed to where ALICE, just because of the acronym, we wanted to get a little bit away from that. But the subject matter is very, very similar to ALICE. And again, these are some of the things that we looked at in order to develop our own program. Homeland Security, again, it's get out, hide out, take out. Again, get out is evacuate, hide out, we have enhanced that to barricade, which I'll explain to you in a few moments, and take out, which is a little bit hard to talk about, but we will, and that's the counter and distract as a last resort. And again, NYPD has a similar system. So, our enhanced lockdown drills utilize a person's natural reactions and common sense. It's communication, which is the key. The amount of information that we receive is going to base upon our response. If it's going to be a barricade, evacuate, or at the very worst, counter and distract. Communication, again, is the key. We're lucky at Danvers where we have a lot of technology at our disposal. We are able to get over PAs. Our dispatch system can actually plug into the PA systems. There's cameras everywhere. So that information is pushed out to allow teachers and students to formulate their reaction to what is being presented to them. And it can change, and we can update that as it goes on. Something that I wanted to include is shelter in place. Not everything is a tragic event. There could be a coyote running around in Plains Park, and we don't want them to. We're not going to put the school on an enhanced lockdown situation, but we don't want them maybe moving around their classrooms or going outside, so we term that as a shelter in place. If there's a medical emergency, we don't need the whole school to shut down. Teaching can still occur in the classrooms, but maybe we just want to have them not be moving back and forth to guidance or to the bathroom or whatever, so we have them shelter in place. So that's just an additional step that we've always included, but wanted to make you aware of that. Barricade. This is the situation where the intruder has entered into the building, the teacher or the students don't feel that they can safely evacuate, and they're going to barricade. So not only are we just going to shut the lights off and hide on the desk and pray that someone doesn't enter, we're going to do the best that we can to barricade ourselves in. And while that's happening, maybe other people can be evacuating out the window or a different door. But the students practice their barricades. They do a remarkable job on it. These are just some of the pictures that we've actually taken of students' barricades. It's pretty remarkable, and the anxiety, I think, is more towards the parents than the actual kids, because the kids are resilient, and they really grasp it and take it seriously. Just some more examples of barricades. This one here, lining up the desks to the door makes that impenetrable. The handle on the door so that it can't be opened. This one is a door, some of the doors that swing out can pose a little bit of a challenge. This is just an example of a door that would swing out. Obviously, evacuate is what we want the students to do. Like a school like Great Oak, there's doors in every classroom. So if someone's coming in the front door to cause harm, get the hell out of there and run. That's what we would want them to do. We want them to run as far and as fast as they can, and they're very successful at doing that. This is the toughest one to kind of grasp, especially as parents. We're not training people to be ninjas or any karate experts or anything like that. But we're talking about the worst day of your life, and basically you're fighting for survivability. If they are able to breach that barricade, or you didn't have a chance to barricade and the intruder's right in front of you, you didn't have a chance to react, we're going to, anything that you can do, run under the legs, throw something at the person. It's going to affect them. Someone is expecting submissiveness. So when they enter into a classroom, they're expecting submissiveness. If they don't get it, they're going to move on to another classroom. All right, so if you are in there and you're throwing something at them or you're reacting towards them, they're either going to move on to another classroom or it's going to allow time for us to arrive. This is just a little video. It's kind of not really involving classrooms or anything like that, but it kind of gives you an idea of
This is an awareness test. How many passes does the team in white make? The answer is 13. But did you see the moonwalking bear?
Did you see it, Dan? Did you see it? You didn't see it? See, so distraction has its place. I'm not a firearms nut. There's some people that may be in here that know a lot more about firearms than I do. But I'll tell you, when I go to the range, I can hit a target pretty well from 25 yards and it's not moving. But I start moving, the target starts moving, and I'm not very successful at hitting, all right? And there's all kinds of science behind that, things like that. No one's throwing anything at me, but that's the idea of distraction. This slide here, a 5 to 6 minute law enforcement arrival time on scene. That's a nationwide statistics. We are very lucky, again, in Danvers, that we have the state police right around the corner. We have the sheriff's department, as well as school resource officers and patrolmen on. It'd be 2 to 3 minutes, guaranteed. We had an incident at St. John's Prep. There were officers there within 45 seconds of that call being out. It's remarkable how quickly that we can respond to that in this type of setting. Luckily, most of the time it is resolved before law enforcement arrives. This was a slide we were putting together. I keep this on here. I know it's a little updated, Virginia Tech, but this was the one that really kind of made me think about we really do need to do something. And it describes the shooter entering in Virginia Tech, and he went into a classroom, and first classrooms that he entered, they didn't do anything. They did the old hide under the desk and pray that they don't hit me. And you can see from the slide that most of the killing was done in those type of classrooms. And then the ones that barricaded, there was no killing or wounded. In one of the classrooms, he went in, shot some people, left. The students that were able to barricade, he tried to get back in a second time and wasn't successful. So this slide, for me, really kind of hit home that, we do need to do something different. A couple of updated ones. This was the Parkland, Florida shooter. The thing with this kid here that was a little bit different, and so we now train and we adapt because we don't, they're training just like we are, and unfortunately we gotta try and stay ahead of them. This kid was picking off people in the hallways. So he didn't really enter into many of the classrooms. You'll see from the next slide that he went in and was able to just kind of pick off people from the hallways. And what we developed that, you know what, if we're gonna barricade in this room, we need to develop a hard corner so that he doesn't have visibility and sight lines into the classrooms. And that's why it's important for coverings on the windows, developing a hard corner where if it's not cluttered with desks and things like that. So we've adapted as they adapt, unfortunately. But you can see his track, and he was a former student. The thing with him too, this school was like a fortress down in Parkland, and there were fences all around, and they had a security guard that was there. And he saw this kid coming in, and was like, wow, it was odd when he was a student here, and he saw him with a big bag. And he didn't want to alert anybody in case he was wrong. Well, unfortunately, his instincts were right. That's why, like Mr. Powell said, if you see something, you should be saying something. And we'll get a little bit more on that in a minute. I bring this slide up, Robb Elementary, Uvalde, for a couple of reasons. This was just a crazy situation that I know would never happen in Danvers. But the way that this kid got in was, it was propped open doors. And the teacher, there was little rocks by the door that were painted. And they used to use those rocks to prop open the door. And that's how this kid got in. Unfortunately, the teacher actually kicked the rock out, but the door never locked, and he went in. So, again, we stress single entry point locked doors, and we do check. We work with the administration to make sure that that's happening. Okay, here we go. This is something that we've been doing for a while, the enhanced lockdown, single point of entries, school resource officers, vitally important. Safety teams, school crisis teams, which the superintendent is putting together, an anonymous tip line. We have that, it's tip 411. When we first introduced it, it was utilized quite a bit. I have cards up here, it's kind of taken a little bit of a backseat, but it is an anonymous tip line, and when I say anonymous, it's anonymous. We can communicate with someone to try and get more information, but we cannot identify that person no matter what. There's a text that goes to, for general crimes, as well as something related towards school or juvenile, and that's, there's cards up here if you'd like to grab. Also up here, when we developed this program, again, to reduce the anxiety to the kids, we worked together with school administrators, police, fire, and we came up with books. And Jeff and I were walking around Riverside today, and the teachers are still utilizing these books. You can take a look at them. You can't take them home, but you're welcome to look at them, and they're divided up by grade level, grade appropriateness. And that's really about it. I like this quote as well. In a moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing you can do is the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do is nothing. And we're hoping that that doesn't happen in our schools anymore. So appreciate you listening to my spiel. I'm very appreciative that you're here because this is vitally important to us